Welcome back to APAC South. Mandy, we are cracking on with Direwolves versus Fury. We had a little bit of a break. We got to see Elevate take down Gladiators, and now we're back on track for a game we were going to play out before. And we're getting back onto business. How are you feeling that we're halfway through the night so far?
Yeah, feeling good. I think that last game was hardly a break. I was sitting there watching it and it was such an intense game, but I'm really glad we're getting to double down and go back into this Direwolves matchup. This is Oregon. We haven't seen this for a very long time. Usually we call it Boregon, but I think that's phased out by now because this is going to be a very exciting match.
It certainly will be, and in fact this Oregon game is a rematch between these two teams from just a couple days ago, 4 days in fact, from the National League, the Operation League, where Fury had a massive upset winning over Direwolves 8-6 in overtime. A surprising result to be sure, and we'll see whether Fury can boast that now in the Tier 1 league.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Direwolves are out for vengeance, so Flores going out first on Oregon. It's fair enough. Flores does add a lot of value to the attacking half of this particular map. You can clear out a lot of the big shield positions, like in Trophy, like in Bunker, wherever it might be. So Flores, very important to take out, followed by Ying as well. That does mean that both Maverick and Thatcher have been let through the ban phase, meaning that some of these walls going through Attic, getting the breach open on kids is going to be made much easier for the attacking half.
Yeah, that's quite strange. You don't usually see the Ying banned out. The Wamai's going to go as well. With Flores out, I guess you're more likely relying on projectiles to clear Bunker, so with Wamai gone, it's going to be a bit easier to do that. Thatcher is in, of course, and Thatcher is also great for EMPing out any ADSs so that you can nade through. Also just great for the more typical use case, which is wall denial. Wow, I got to say, I feel like this is some fairly unusual operator bans for Oregon as a whole.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think that the emphasis here on the Wamai and the Goyo being taken out, like protecting those shields is going to be a big thing. I think we're going to see a much more aggressive hold from the Direwolves, one that's maybe a bit less centered on shields, less centered on holding something. That being said, they have just brought 2 operators that hold shields, and the mirror has been let through as well. So a little more anchor focused here on the side of the Direwolves, and they'll take us down to a laundry room first as well, which is typically very difficult to attack because there's no vertical, nothing like that. The anchor positions are very hard to clear.
Yeah, and I think that the reason for this, the reason for going downstairs, is because that mirror has been left in. Now, 4 days ago when these teams played this map, the operator bans are actually the exact same as they are now, with the exception of the Goyo. Direwolves banned mirror instead of Goyo in that game. So that means now mirror is available. Mirror is really, really strong on this laundry site. You can put one here where Harambe is doing, facing into Freezer. Makes it very, very hard to push Freezer. And you can also put one in Elbow, in fact, facing into Elbow, so that you don't have to rely so much on playing a shield in that position. Or you could put one into Cubby as well, which is, I think, where Harambe's reinforcing right now. I think that's where he's going to put his second one. Makes it really strong to hold that front push.
So like you said, the Direwolves seem to be reading into the fact that Fury are going to want to do a front-sided take. That's why both mirrors are dedicated to this half, where the shield is just in the elbow part, but that shield can easily be rotated. So why would you commit a mirror to that, right? You may as well put a shield there. If they go for a front take, move that. If they go for a back take, at least you have the shield left for you. Fury, though, they've decided to shape up for a back take. Already, Lycolis is starting to get his way into the bunker part of the building, whereas Dark and BG Man will start to work on the big tower.
And one thing we're seeing, despite the lack of a Ying on the back of the ban from Fury, we're seeing a lot of smokes deployed. It's pretty uncommon these days. You'll see 2 operators with smokes. Usually you just bring the smokes because you want an operator, for example, Ossa, and she happens to have smokes, and you don't want to bring Claymore. But, you know, we have that in Ossa, and we also have it in Twitch. So the fact that there's a Warden on the defense might throw a bit of a spanner in the works if Fury get a bit too overzealous with their smokes.
Fury now starting to work the tower stairs as I9 puts his first Ossa shield halfway down on the landing in the back stairs, and he's already seen this big long line of sight that Direwolves have created going into the site, watching the back stairs. They'll try and contest it, run across, toying with their life a little bit, but the rest of the Direwolves still surviving 5-on-5 with 1 minute and 45 seconds left to go.
Now, one weakness in the Direwolves lineup is that the fact there's no impact grenades, and that means that it's going to be basically impossible to clear out this Ossa position, and it's a very strong position. I mean, Ossa has a deep line of sight into the objective, like you said, can also really pressure Pillar as well. So I think it's a really good strategy from Fury, and they're making excellent time as well. Like, Collis looks like he's about to drop into Electrical.
Absolutely, and Hajime as well making his progress into the back double door. Gonzix goes out to clear that barbed wire, and they can start to prepare for a huge explosive execute like Collis will drop now and make his way into the site.
Oh, but great usage of the gas from ED, followed up with the SMG-11. Direwolves read into it perfectly, and as a result, they now have this significant advantage. Pika goes on for a flank into blue. Doesn't matter because Souffle has already found that pick and still resides at the top of the rear stairs. I9 on his Ossa shield, and yet completely ineffectual.
And now 45 seconds left to go, a moment of quiet as the smoke canisters start to stall out Fury. Not sure what their plan is going to be here, as they'll have to reconsolidate their players. 2 versus 5 seems pretty unwinnable on the side of Fury unless Direwolves give away their life to this Ossa shield. I9 with his gun up, trained on Harambe at the moment.
Souffle perhaps vulnerable to the hatch, but as the hatch drop comes through, it's actually I9 to finish off his teammate, and Direwolves can lock in a flawless round. And I think that is just a taste of what we're going to see this game, right, Mandy? Some really, really strong setups on that downstairs laundry supply bomb site.
I would agree with you. I think that, especially with the Flores being taken out, I think that some of these power positions are very difficult to clear out. Goyo being gone does make it a little bit easier, but having Mirror on the board, still having Warden that was utilized in that last round, as well as the smoke, that's a lot of utility on the side of the attacking half to clear, and it felt like with the lineup that Fury brought, the Amaru, the Ossa, all these strange, unique operators, that wasn't enough utility to deal with all of the defense that Direwolves had set up. There's just too much to go through, and they just tried to find some way around it, putting the Talon Shield on the backstairs, going for a cheeky execute, trying to look for the timing, but Direwolves were ready for that.
Now I wonder what we'll see on this Dorms bomb site. I feel like with Mirror in, with Flores out, like you've said, the basement bomb site should be won by the defense basically every single round. And so it puts more impact onto this this Dorms bomb site to be, for the attack, the one that they need to rack up to try and guarantee a strong result in the half. And for Direwolves, their interpretation of this particular bomb site is something that I haven't seen much recently, but the extended hold in small tower, in the closet, the master closet, they've actually made a rotation hole where many teams would just reinforce off and try and play wall denial, but also extending on the tier 2 of the big tower as well. So Direwolves looking to take a lot of map control here.
This is a very divided defense from the Direwolves, and something that, like you said, we haven't seen in a very long time. Most teams these days play a very conservative top floor kind of defense, but this is very spread out from them. Even Pecan is sitting in small tower waiting for an unknown Fury player to go creeping past him to try and look for a kill. Fury now seem to start surrounding the big tower. Looks like they're going to do an attic, master bedroom type of push, while Hajime lurks down below looking for any Direwolves players that might be roaming down there. Meanwhile, the first point of contention will be Souffle here into tier 3.
It's funny, he played here last round as well on the Warden. Oh, let's be very careful about that window, but Dark does swing on through. A great play from him, and also, funny enough, Fury managed to get that kill early, because Dark was playing that aggressive rappel where he would have been exposed to a lot of angles that Direwolves could have peeked, but now doesn't have to worry about Big Tower anymore. In fact, doesn't have to worry about Pika either, as BG Man's taken him out. Edie's feeling this pressure, and this extended hold is not working out for Direwolves.
Seems like the Direwolves trying to bank on their 1 versus 1s way too much, as Fury, every single engagement they've taken, every single part of the map that they've attempted to take has worked out in their favor, as I9 will just clean up the final kill onto Direwolves, and that is it. The round is over. Dev, I feel like that strat was very, very big risk on the side of Direwolves. I mean, Fury, they were able to just take these mini games, mini battles across the map. There was just 1 versus 1 situations all over the place, and Direwolves weren't able to support each other in the setup they had because it was so spread apart. There was no opportunity for refrags and no opportunity for crossfires, and Direwolves trying to bank on those 1 versus 1s is not a strategy that's going to be consistent for them if they want to consolidate all their players and play something that's a little bit more reliable, like refrags, some type of thing. So I think Fury winning out their 1s, relying on that mechanical skill, that's something that they're going to back themselves into any day of the week.
No, I mean, credit to Fury, they've shown that they can meet Direwolf's flawless round with the flawless round of their own. We haven't had any close rounds so far, but perhaps, hopefully, that is going to change. Yeah, I agree with you. The strategy from Direwolves was pretty ambitious. I think they can do it, but like you said, it's just a couple of little individual portions of that strategy go wrong and the whole thing falls apart. For example, like if Direwolves lose man advantage when you're extending like this, that becomes really, really difficult to hold on because there are just so many more places the attack can come from, and you're holding like a bit more of a precarious crossfire. So if Direwolves this round can be a lot more careful, you know, Soufflé tries to stay alive a bit longer up in T3, which funnily enough he will play once again. And you know, other players on the site don't get too exposed. I have some confidence that Direwolves can pull through here.
So I don't mind this from Soufflé. He's essentially mirroring the setup here on the top tower of T3. There's already a preset blue kind of tarp that protects one half of T3, but he's mirrored it on the other side too. So no matter what rappel that the attackers are going to be playing from, he can at least contest one without being contested by the other. So this time Soufflé's changed up his setup a little bit, trying to adapt to what Fury have done. But Fury are completely changing their approach this time. They've put all of their pressure on the master bedroom side, bar BG Man on the other side of Big Tower, to try and clear out Jackie Wu first. Dark is already repelled into Armory and will start to pressure out the players of the Dire Wolves.
Interesting rotation from Fury. Couple of risks to playing like this. A lot of crossfires that Direwolves have set up. Oh, Jackie Wu, that's a big, big play. Doesn't quite land the shot though. And in fact, Dark just swings on in, as does Jackie Wu. That is a very, very surprising turn of events, and Fury have once again got this huge man advantage.
ED though, he can claw one back, but still 2 versus 4 is going to be a very tough ask for the Direwolves. That's a sharp shot from ED onto Dark. 2 versus 3 now doable, but ED left on a slither of HP. Soufflé, he'll have to be the playmaker of the Direwolves.
ED really low makes him at huge risk, like you're saying, particularly to any vertical nades. Hajime still has one left. Soufflé's hiding in attic though. Makes me wonder whether Fury will see it. Fury still have a couple of live drones available, particularly from Lycolis. And there's also, of course, the main rotation on site, which is now where Lycolis resides. He's going to flash up, and BG Man's going to try and make an entry top white. Soufflé and ED have to have a big impact. Pre-fire comes out. BG Man, he's in a precarious position, and ED is right around the corner. Got some info as well. Now it's a 2-1-2. Soufflé's picked up another kill. And now Fury are falling to pieces. It's just Hajime left, but he makes it a 1v1, and he can land the clutch. That is Fury breathing a sigh of relief. We asked for a closer round, and we certainly got one.
That was a bit too close for comfort, in my opinion, Zev. I really thought that after such an incredible start that Fury had, finding those 2 opening picks there in the Direwolves, that they had that round in the bag. But I really want to commend the way that ED and the way that Soufflé were able to play off each other in that 2 versus 3. They were always making sure that they had their guns trained on just one part of the map together so they could play the trades. We saw a little earlier ED and Soufflé both swung onto the player on top white at the same time. It goes to show that even on a numbers disadvantage, they still try to make use of teamwork where they can. But Fury, thankfully, they're able to play out the numbers advantage that they had earlier and eventually win out the rounds. But like you said, that was a little close, a little dicey, I reckon, from Fury. If you're up that much, it's a little worrisome that you're bringing it down to such a close round.
Yeah, I mean, it's decent for Fury to say that they've got a pretty strong attack on the Dorms in general, right? Because now they're 2-2. Like, if Direwolves win this round, they'll be locked out of Laundry again, and there'll be 2 rounds where they have to consider what other bomb sites they'll have to play. And to be honest, I don't think Direwolves should be going back to Dorms anytime soon. They've just lost it pretty handily twice in a row. But as for this basement objective, Laundry Supply, where Direwolves won really convincingly previously, I think it's likely to be even more convincing this time. Fortunately for Fury, they have switched off of the Ossa, but I was particularly thinking about the fact that we've got impacts now on Pika that would have really dismantled I9's position that he was playing with the Ossa on the rear stairs. But fortunately for Fury, they might be trying something a bit different.
Yeah, for Fury, they're actually running 8 grenades in their lineup. 8 grenades!
Wow.
That's significantly more grenades than the last time we saw them attack this, which will make clearing some of these positions, particularly the one around Pillar, particularly Elbow, the shield there, and some of these keeper barriers as well, will be made a little easier with the amount of explosives and a combination of 2 Gone 6s as well in their hand. So I think Fury realizing that they didn't have enough tools to try and clear out the defensive direwolves earlier and changing things up. I9 will start to get control into Big Tower, and it seems like they're going to go for a similar take around the backside of the bomb site.
I was actually going to play the similar position he played with the Ossa, but instead with Yana, which is a lot less safe, and I expect he'll get pushed a lot more than he did before. In a redrone, he sees the keeper barrier that's really making it much more uncomfortable for him to play. There's also an ADS here on Pika, which might enable him to play Harry Potter for a little bit longer. Jackie actually rotates one of his ADSs, I believe, back into Elbow.
I'm a big fan of that keeper barrier that's on the top of T2. We can't really see it from the top down. It's a bit of a funky position. But because that barrier is there, it's much harder for the attackers on the stairs to lob grenades through into Pillar and to lob grenades through into like Harry Potter and those kinds of positions as well, right? And on top of that, they can't see through that long line of sight of that single solo wall that's open that we saw last time with the Ossa shield as well. So that keeper barrier is providing a lot of coverage for the anchors left on the site. Jackie Wu's able to find an aggressive position here in Freezer with the aid of that barricade. He's just using the little slit, but I9 will try and roll a grenade through. Oh, I think Jackie Wu's seen one though.
No,
The shots do connect,
Jackie.
but he's not able to find the kill.
Oh, I mean, you got to see the feed, but you can't shoot the feed. You're just never going to land enough shots to do damage there. And he is punished for that. Even Fury get the heal on the back of Dark's Adrenal Surge, so the damage nullified. Hatchmaze, they're making a play in through blue, and he's met with a keeper barrier, so he has to back on up. In a really precarious position now, 3-way crossfire, and, well, ED plays that so well. Fury have, I don't know, fallen to pieces here. There's no other way I can put it. It's just I9. Well, no, it's not. It's just Lycolis left, and no, it's not. Direwolves just close out another fairly convincing basement defense.
The Direwolves, although they were a man down, once again using the teamwork, the combination of Easy there playing the smoke, pushing onto the player inside of blue to try and claw back the man advantage, and Fury seemingly getting a little indecisive in that mid round. It didn't feel like that they were going to commit to any push. They toyed a little bit with backstairs and they went onto the ground floor and tried to do a freezer and a laundry. It just felt like the decision making from Fury was a little slow and stagnated, and that allowed Direwolves to claw back some space like we saw with that teamwork, to claw back some of the picks and eventually take away Fury's man count one by one to win out the round on the basement. I think you alluded to it perfectly, that this basement site is going to be very defender-sided. It's with these bans that have gone out right at the beginning of the game, it's going to be very difficult to attack into that site. I think we can expect that the Direwolves will always win that round.
They should, which is why it was a bit scary that Fury played it so well. But, I mean, it goes to show now that Direwolves are playing the kitchen dining site, that at least Fury have put a lot of fear into Direwolves about that Dorm's objective. And that means that there's a very high probability that Fury is going to win this half, you know. I think with these operator bans, what we're kind of seeing is Laundry is becoming more defender-sided than usual. But aside from Laundry, where can you really go to as a defense? Because particularly if the Direwolves Dorms is not working out, and the meeting kitchen side and the dining kitchen side are both fairly weak. And so this puts a lot of pressure on Direwolves now to try and at least nail a 3-3 half. I'd say that that'd be impressive in itself. There's a good chance here Fury could win the next 2 rounds.
And I'd agree with you there that because Maverick and Thatcher have both slipped through the ban phase, Hibana's also through the ban phase, getting open a lot of these walls is very easy to do. And that's such a key component of all the other bomb sites that aren't basement. Like, it's so important to be able to open the meeting wall if it's a meeting attack. Same thing with this showers wall here. If it's a dining attack or if it's top floor, there's 2 breaches that you need to work on as well. And so for the attacking half, they've been given a lot more options to try and get walls open. I9, he's already made his way into small tower. No one seems to be contesting him as the rest of Fury try and consolidate their plays over here as well. Lycolis has the Thermite, which he should be able to get onto the wall fairly easily as Fury will start to clear out some of these mirrors.
Was that an impact? Did that actually successfully clear the mirror? I can't quite tell from this angle.
Ooh.
I think it did. If so, that's quite big. Yeah, there you go. So that's one mirror window already dismantled in a power position as well for Direwolves. Eliminated. Makes Direwolves very, very precarious now. They've got to land some pretty nice shots. They've got to have some big individual plays to bring this back onto their side, because this is an attacker-sided bomb site, and the attack have already got a really good foothold.
Well, Fury, they don't need much more control to be able to attack into this bomb site. That mirror being cleared already opens up the way for the Ossa Shield to start getting into the default plant behind the couches. Impact will try and go out to clear the Ossa Shield. Jackie Wu almost losing his life for it, but our Ossa Shield seems to be being cleared. BG Man now needs to pick up his second one and put it down instead, and can start to go for the plants.
Indeed, he does, and I9 can just spray on down. Jackie Wu, I think he eventually did get his impact off, but it missed, and now this post plant is nigh unachievable here for the Direwolves. Dark can just hold on down, left click with that LMG, never worrying about how much ammunition he's got left, because Fury are locked in for another potentially flawless round win on their attacking side, and you can see that Dark is hungry for it. He's been having a laugh on the Finker so far. Souffle desperately trying to find what he could do, but Dark will not let him survive. Another fantastic round by Fury.
Clearing that mirror window there that went from kitchen into dining was just such a key component to making that attack work. That was the position that Souffle was throwing his smoke canisters from. That was the position that the mirror could have used her C4 to lob one over the couches and destroy the planter that was there, right? And so once that mirror had been cleared, there was no other positions that the Direwolves could have used to deny that plant that they went for with the Ossa Shield. And so Fury, they got as minimal control as they possibly could, but it was the one and most important piece of utility and the one most important position that the Direwolves needed to deny exactly what Fury was going to do. So that was just so well played from them. They identified exactly what they needed and executed it to perfection.
And now Direwolves have got some head scratching to do. They're down 2 rounds to 3 on their defense, and they've got one final round. Laundry Supply is still locked because they won it in round 4. So they've got to go dorms, kitchen meeting, or kitchen dining, where they haven't really had much luck on kitchen dining or on dorms. They've been flawless on both of the bomb sites so far. It makes you wonder, is it worth trying to go back to one of these sites that they've struggled on, or do you just take the gamble and go kitchen meeting? They're actually going to go back to dorms. They've already lost this twice. This is a big risk. What are they going to change?
Well, I think they have to change something, Div, because every time, well, the past 2 times that they've played this particular bomb site, we saw them repeat the exact same strategy, and that strategy fell in the exact same way both times. Fury were able to win out those micro, sort of mechanical 1 versus 1s and eventually win out the round, so the Direwolves will have to change something. This time, it seems like Jackie Wu will actually reinforce both sides for Attic, so no more T3 extension for Souffle anymore. The shield has also been moved into 2 shields now. Will actually face the side of Trophy as well. The kids, the games wall has also been reared off, so no more closet extension. This is a much more conservative hold for you from the Direwolves, and I think this is the right play. They don't want to be giving their lives up to Fury, extending into parts where they have to take those 1 versus 1s, but rather want to be playing crossfires, be playing off each other. But Edie, he will find a cheeky first pick onto I9.
I mean, that is already a great start for Direwolves, and you know, every player you can take down, if you get that man advantage on your side, it's even more impactful when you have a setup like they've gone for here. Like you said, instead of opening crossfires and lines of sight, they have reinforced just about everything you can reinforce. You know, attic, closet, the attic wall to Trophy, like all double reinforced. They're forcing Fury to take the time to do any hard breach that they would want. They're forcing, if they don't hard breach, to walk into these funnels of the main doors onto site. And now that Direwolves have that man advantage, it's even more favored than it would be otherwise.
Now Fury will have to start to get to work on these walls. They're not given to them for free anymore, so hard breach will have to be dedicated to this. That's why Dark is repelled straight into Armory here. Try and make some way for Lycolis with those exothermic charges to get his way into the master bedroom. Meanwhile, BG Man on the other side, working in tandem with Hajime, will start to get control of Attic, try and play this long line of sight into lower Attic as Lycolis is able to claw one back for Fury. 4 versus 4 now for... We're all tied up really here, but all these walls are still closed. 1:40 left to go. It's pretty even out at the moment.
Do wonder why Pika was Warden Like, why not even just go smoke? Bring the FMG, that's fine. But, like, surely the utility is better. But anyway, I digress. He's dead. Doesn't matter. There are a lot of nades, though, and a lot of projectiles on this attacking side. You can see the drone work from Fury is pinging out these ADSs so they know exactly what they can and can't take. And here comes BG Man. He's got a great position, but there's a beautiful keeper barrier here that makes it so much more difficult for him to get in and start taking these fights, cutting those players inside of kids' dorms.
And there's a minute left to go, but Fury still have to deal with 2 shields that are currently facing the direction of their push. There's one that's in the choke point, and there's another one up to the right. But BG Man will prone and find a small little gap in the keeper barrier to find the kill onto Jackie Wu. That's just so unfortunate for Jackie Wu on the other side of that keeper barrier. But now the man advantage is up for Fury. We'll see if they can convert it into an end round.
ED's just taking a hell of a lot of damage to that nade. The second nade may well be perfect on Harame's position. Hajime has opened up the round once again. Dials just rely on 2 players now with under 30 seconds to go. Souffle throws out his last keeper barrier, and Hajime is going to make an entry, pre-fires, does a bit of damage onto ED, but ED has got to step up now. BG Man finishes off Souffle, and that is it. What a finish on for the half from Fury.
That was a really good attempt there from the Direwolves to try and change up what had been lost in the previous 2 rounds. They realized that they didn't want to go for these extensions, so we'll try and play more conservative. But even when they did play more conservatively, Fury ended up using their setup against them. I mean, a tiny small hole in that keeper barrier was the death of poor Jackie Wu, who had no idea what he was looking for while he was playing in the rotate. Same thing with Hajime down below, finding those vertical nades, flushing ED out of his shield that was at top white all the way into the back of bunks, made that take much more open for Fury, and they really enabled themselves straight into the site with all that utility that they'd used. And so well played on the side of Fury, and now that they can go onto their defensive half, they will also use this basement bomb site as strong as it is with the Azami as well to try and make these positions even more powerful. And Direwolves, I think that they've gone off onto a really terrible start.
And it makes me wonder, like, on the whole, should this be attacker-sided, taking into account the operator Nino and the state of the meta right now? Like, should this be attacker-sided? Because Fury definitely made it look like it should be. They were just unstoppable force on their attack, with the exception of this basement bomb site. You know, this basement site clearly defender-sided with these bans. But that's not to say that there's no opportunity for an attack here to have success. You know, we've got 8 nades on the attacking side, plus we've got Hibana, we've got Kaid on the defense. In theory, you know, there should be no worries for Direwolves to take full map control, open up all the hatches, all the hard breach they could possibly want, nade up every last keeper barrier and shield, and take that map control and start nading out these players. But are they actually going to be able to achieve that, especially when they're on the back foot?
I think that the momentum is definitely on the side of Fury at the moment. We can see that they're feeling confident. They've gone for quite an extended hold here. We can see Fury plays all the way in the top floor, I believe. Someone playing inside of Attic, using that hatch to go down and look straight into meeting, that type of thing. And so Fury, they're looking confident right now. Some of the Direwolves players will start to make their way through the small tower all the way into the shower hallway to try and get this roam clear up and kicking. BG Man, though, he still has control of meeting, and that's a very critical position here for the Direwolves if they want to make their execute onto the basement.
Interesting there from BG Man. He may lose his life here if ED swings at the right moment. Worried about a crossfire though. Direwolves really do need a pick on their roam clear. ED's got the call. He sees the feet. I think he's actually going to commit a nade to this. He's got to land the timing. He does get it, and in fact that's 2 picks now for the defensive, for the attacking side. ED may well find another one here. He does. Oh no, Mandy. Fury have fallen apart on the most favored bomb site on the map. They may well be falling their lead here.
Fury, I think, got really overconfident with their setup. They were playing a roam into meeting, they were playing a roam into tower, but with not much setup to aid their roam and to help them fall off. I mean, the meeting hatch was closed. How were they going to rotate back into the site? How were they going to go back safely, or was BG Man just going to play his life? It just feels like Fury got really overconfident, but their setup did not back it up, and Direwolves were able to capitalize on it by taking control of small tower. Jackie Wu ended up finding the pinch, and as well as that, the clear through back tower from ED with the grenade and another cut-off kill. Like, what are Fury doing? It just doesn't feel like their setup is helping what they're trying to do at all. Now they can start getting overrun on the side. Unless Hajime can make a play. Oh, no.
Hajime! He might be able to clutch this. It's now a 1 versus 2. Sorry to cut you off, Mandy. My God, this guy's insane. Let's see if Pika can finally finish it off. Thank goodness.
Oh, dear.
I mean, yeah, I was agreeing with everything you were saying, Mandy, up until this one guy just decided to go nuts. Hajime's having a killer game, I gotta say.
He's really showing up in the server right now for Fury. I mean, a lot of the Fury players are right now. They're finding excellent timings on the plays of the Direwolves. That's what we saw when Fury was on their attacking half, right? But the Direwolves, I really like the way that they approached that. I think that roam clear was very methodical. It was step by step, and it made sure that the plays of Fury were being choked out. And like I said, Fury only really had one way to get back into the site, and that was to run it back down the back stairs. Direwolves identified that and were eventually able to win out the round.
Really interesting that Fury are actually going to dorms next instead of laundry supply. You know something else I just realized now about Fury's basement? They didn't bring Mirror, Mandy.
Yeah.
Like, why would you not bring Mirror on basement when unmanned? A lot of strange things about Fury's defense to that basement site, and I'm starting to wonder, like, you know, Direwolves were the ones that here didn't ban Mirror when they did the other day when these teams played each other. They're the ones who kind of threw that curveball left Mirror in, and they're the ones who played the Mirror and that basement setup really well. Maybe Fury is just not quite as prepared as Direwolves are for that particular bomb site on the defense.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. I think that they're not really utilizing all the tools as well as the Direwolves did on their defense. That being said, Dev, we are going to Kids this time, which is a completely different story. We saw Direwolves fail this site 3 times, I believe it was, and that is just crazy. I mean, Kids and Dorms is normally such a defender-sided site because it's so difficult to mount and execute. The plant spots are very open. It's very tough to try and look for a flood as well because there are so many choke points. And so seeing Direwolves fail this site so many times is a very curious thing. And we'll see if Fury are able to defend this bomb site successfully, Dev. I think that's a very, very different story. And I want to say that Fury would be able to run away with it if they have a more diverse defense.
Well, it makes you wonder if Fury is simply better at dorms, attacking and defending, and Direwolves is simply better at laundry, attacking and defending. Because at the moment, every single laundry round has been won by Direwolves, and every single dorms round has been won by Fury. Direwolves will be looking to buck that trend by nailing an attack here. There's a lot of setup for them to deal with, and a lot of map control in particular. Fury playing a fairly classic downstairs roam, a very strong roam, though, in kitchen and security.
Well, it seems like Direwolves will be directly contesting them by taking from Small Tower. A perfectly cooked nade is going to find a kill onto Dark from Jackie Wu as well. But I think something we've seen curious is that Souffle is roaming down in the basement as well, trying to look for the pinch onto this position here on Hajime. He could come up through Zulu, he could come up through the freezer stairs or something like that to try and dismantle this roam. Meanwhile, BG-Man as well in the basement. This is a bit of a scary defense to try and attack.
Yeah, and now that Fury have found their own pick, not sure where Jackie Wu was, but that's also all of the Finker Adrenal Surges off the cards. Harambe is actually taking a lot of damage from the smoke there. Hajime feeling that pressure, and BG Man's got his back as well. So we're at a bit of an impasse at the moment. You're right, Souffle is still lurking in lobby, but he's not making his move yet. He's waiting for players to retreat, but you can clearly see BG Man and Hajime are happy to just stay where they are.
They are absolutely happy to stay where they are. I mean, what else can they do but contest here? There's no way for them to fall off because Souffle is cutting off their back at the moment, right inside of lobby. And so right now it feels like Direwolves have the crack on this roam clear, but it seems like they're going to give it up and start to pivot towards a side instead, Dev.
Souffle does eventually find a player, but it's actually one of the guys on site. Hajime now on for his flank, but caught out from outside on the window, and Pika reads both of the roamers oh so very well. I9 left alone, and he is being baited so hard. What a shot there on the Pika, but Harambe to finish it. And finally, the trend has been broken. Direwolves finally get a win on Dorms.
Wow, my goodness, it just seems like Dorms is the impossible site to defend right now. All the attack wins on this particular bomb site, Dev. It's so strange.
Four
attacking wins. That is just... This is a very strange game of Oregon. I've never seen anything quite like this, so attacker-sided in a way that we couldn't have expected it to be. I think in that last round, that roam clear that came out from the Direwolves, it felt like the formula was so right, but as the mid-round played out, it was scrappy. It was a bit yucky. I mean, Souffle ended up coming up the armory stairs instead of committing to the roam clear with the Direwolves and looked for that kind of execute, instead just explode onto site, pivot your attention, and eventually they were able to win out the round. But every single round of between these two teams seems so yucky, you know? Like, it's not clean at all. There's nothing clean about any of these attacks, but eventually they're finding round wins one way or another. And now going back to this bottom floor site, we'll have to see if Fury will dial it back a little bit. Will they play the anchor, especially with the Kaid trying to protect the hatches and some of the breaches as well? I feel like anchoring for them is going to be a much better option.
Yeah, but they're not bringing that mirror. Still not bringing that mirror. Still insistent on bringing this Warden. I guess there are smokes on Harambe now, so they did feel that the pressure of the Capitao in the previous round. There is a somewhat of a use case for the Warden, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this this setup from Fury. I really liked Direwolves' basement defenses, but Fury have all the time to prove me wrong here as well.
Bit of quiet now as the rest of Fury start to rotate their way back onto the site. I don't think that there are any roamers left in the top two floors, if I'm not being baited or mistaken by the outlines, and I am not. There we go. All the Fury players deciding to dial it back and play a more anchor-centric hold while Direwolves start to get their way into the building. Khan will be the first. Meanwhile, Jackie Wu starting to take control of small tower. I9, this is a bit of a dangerous play.
But this is what I9 loves to do. He's always been that kind of player that goes for the high-risk, high-reward plays. And sometimes he lands them. Sometimes he doesn't. But sometimes he does. He's now on the rotate off and perfectly read. Jackie Wu takes him down with that LMG that just hits like a truck. Now, man advantage for Direwolves. I9 unfortunately struggles on that solo roam.
Now at a man disadvantage as well, as the rest of Fury were on a different page to I9. They were all consolidated back on the site, waiting patiently for the Direwolves, but I9 was off on his own with no support at all. Feels a little bit disjointed, but the Direwolves capitalize on that as Jackie Wu now has full control of the ground floor. Direwolves, they are still doing their due diligence and droning it out anyway, making sure there's no one sitting in any corners waiting to flank them. That is absolutely fair enough if you're playing against Fury. Harambe's realized that, okay, this is all clear now. I can start to get into the building and use those Capitao tin cans to open up some of these hatches.
Yeah, there you go. The secondary hard breach comes out and opens up the freezer hatch and the lobby hatch as well. So, I mean, it's a question of, you know, they're not going to be getting open this electrical hatch. They're 6 of the Mavs, so it's going to have to be a front take. Still lots of nades, 6 nades, and the Capitao's incendiary bolts to do so there.
And I think grenades are going to be the name of this mid-round here, because how else are they going to clear these power positions, Dev? There's no way that they're just going to be walking at that laundry shield or just behind the back of freezer where there might be an anchor player playing. Now is the time where they're going to chuck out all of their utility and see if they can find any picks where they can. Picard now 2 nades as well. Jackie Wu there on the lobby hatch will start to try and see if they can clear out the bomb site and make way for Harambe to get into the site.
But there's Lycola still with a gas babe remaining and just about no time left on the clock. ED cannot kill Hajime. How does he stay alive for so long, dancing around the shield? Pika finally goes in and sends it, but Hajime once again finally traded back, but ED cannot survive. And Dark will be the final player left alive at the end of that engagement. Finally, Fury get their defense of laundry supply.
And I think that was well-deserved as well. Fury, they had the read that they needed on that bomb site. They said, okay, last time we got a little bit overzealous on the roam, let's just dial it back a little bit, with the exception of I9. We're not really sure what he was entirely trying to achieve there on his own, looking excited there in small tower, but the rest of Fury, dialing it back, just doing their due diligence, being patient, playing the power positions that were very, very hard to clear for the Direwolves. It's always very difficult to lob a nade into that corner of laundry, and on top of that, with the crossfire inside of closet or inside of the little box closet, it's going to be very hard for the Direwolves to do a front take, and Fury were able to capitalize on those positions and eventually win out the round. Now, Dev, though, we're back on kids. I'm worried. I'm scared.
Yeah. All right, so you know, we've had 4 out of 9 rounds, so nearly half the rounds in this game. In fact, you know what? Now we're in round 10. So 5 out of 10 rounds in this game, half the rounds in this game, have been played on this bomb site. And every single one of them has been won by the attack. So Fury, you're going back here, you better have something to show for it. Like realistically, what have you got? You got 2 shields and you got a lot of Azami. I like that, but I think what we're going to need, realistically, is just some nutty plays. Like, at this point, you can't sit back and just let the round happen to you, because Direwolves will get the job done. They'll whittle away piece by piece. And that's why Fury going for these aggro plays is absolutely what they need to do.
No. That was a bit tight for ED. He's probably like, oh, where on earth did that happen from? As BG Man has already fallen off onto the armory stairs, but plays you requested and plays you were given, as all of the Fury players seem to be off the site. Okay, that being said, they're all rotating back now, but they were all trying for an early pick to see if they could catch a Direwolves player off guard. Hajime, though, is still left in small tower, trying to see if Picard will miss-drone him. That drone does go up through the small tower. Has Hajime been seen here?
He's going to make himself a rotate. Pico may well have heard that rotate. He looks a bit suspicious the way he's moving. Hajime's actually going to go for a re-roam into small tower, but Pico's actually fallen off and playing at big window.
Fury deciding that they want to just fall back onto the site, play these Kiba barriers. We can see one of them there on the concrete part of the bomb site, protecting that default plant and allowing the player and addict to swing onto it as well. As the Direwolves, this is a slow and steady attack from them. They're just surrounding the bomb site, probing, looking for a pick, as Pecan might be able to find the body of somebody inside of Kids. He lobs a grenade through, but will it connect? Oh, so close.
Not quite. That might have cleared some util. I didn't quite see where there was a Banshee there. Oh, nice shot from Pika. One of the big players on site. The Thunderbird down. That's a very, very powerful weapon taken down. Pika's actually looking for another down in the hallway. Does not quite see Dark dancing around the Alibi's Prisma. That said, Fury can't get too excited because the kills have been coming to in abundance for the Dire Wolves, and Hajime cannot hold on. Half of the rounds in this game have been Dorms, and every single one of them has been won by the attack. We are at 5-5 break point as the Direwolves are on the comeback and Fury call their tactical pause.
The curse of the top floor will remain there for the entire game, Dev. I think I'm going to call it now. This curse will never be broken, and if it is, that's game win, I reckon, I think. Look, we might not be superstitious, we might be an engineer, but superstition does come into this game, I swear. But anyway, Fury, I really didn't mind that the way that they tried to play that. I liked that they were trying to use the Kiba barriers and all the tools that they could to play that anchor game. But more so, I really like the way that Direwolves actually attacked that site. They realized that all of Fury had decided to anchor, so they said, okay, let's try and make use of all the map control that we possibly have. We saw Direwolves players below trying to play nades. We saw Picard on the windows as well, because he realized that one was in small tower. We're going to jump out on him, try and probe and look for a pick through the window. Same thing as Jackie Wu going through Trophy, because he realized that that had been given up to him. So Direwolves able to surround the site and look for picks, and that was their invitation that went into the bomb site, and that was just so well played from them. And I think a big oversight from Fury as well to give away their lives like that.
And they're actually going there again. They actually are going there again. Tactical timeout for Fury. They've had a chance to talk about it. And then they say, all right, guys, let's go Dorms again. They haven't even tried kitchen meeting. They haven't even tried kitchen dining. They're just insistent on going back to Dorms. If they can break this 5-round trend, then they'll be on match point, right? That would be huge for them. It would also be devastating for Direwolves, who are gunning for a chance to return back to the back to A major at all. And I mean, Direwolves have not been looking too hot. If Direwolves lose this game, their chances of going to the major drops 20%. If they lose in regulation, it drops by 25%.
Ooh.
So they really need to win this game and win it in regulation to Direwolves, and that means winning the next 2 rounds in a row, which would mean repeating what they just did here on Dorms and then going downstairs and winning a site there as well.
Well, Dev, all I'm saying is, Fate is currently on the side of the Direwolves. they are attacking kids and dorms. And if they can, like you said, if they can just repeat the formula like they tried before, they will come away with a round win. Fury, it doesn't feel like that they've changed their approach all that much. Azami is now gone, but I didn't really see how much value were added in the last round. Instead, they're just bringing a shield on this choke point position instead. And so Fury, they've gone back to their anchor ways. They think that this is the formula that works out for them. But Direwolves had a pretty good hold on this site last time, able to surround it, probe and find the picks, and I feel like that formula works out for them again.
May well do, but we haven't actually had an engagement as of yet. Looks like Direwolves doing a little bit of everything at the moment. We've got Jackaroo taking armory control, but we also have players repelling kids. Now Pika's a very precarious spot. He can get swung from that window. He also wants the pressure from the kids' window as well. He's worried about Attic because they haven't taken Attic control. In fact, I think he's just got peeked from Attic then, just as he got off.
The Direwolves now decide to turn their attention to Master instead, as Harambe will get the wall open with an exothermic charge, aided by an EMP that doesn't really clear any anti-hard breach on the other side. But BG Man looks like he's trying to make a play through the breach. He's holding on to a very scary position on the couch. Uh-oh.
Oh, he's going to lose his life. He needs to win this. ED trying to swing it, and he does get that kill. There is a trade, however, from Dark. That leaves us even 4-4 apiece. Oh, Souffle.
Oh, no. He just read like Hollis like a book. What on earth was that spraying through the soft barricade? Pikan will lob a nade through Attic that perfectly connects but not perfectly timed. I9 now left in the 1 versus 3, and Harambe is able to clean up the final clear for the Direwolves. Once again, the exact same style of attack dev. As soon as they find that pick that they needed from probing into the site, from opening windows, from opening breaches, that is their invitation to into the bomb site, and they RSVP straight away, flooding in, looking for the kills, and it all compounds from there. And Dev, the curse has not been broken yet. And so we will see. Will Fury reattempt it again? No, that they will not. They will go down to laundry and supply, thank goodness, not cursing this game, but Direwolves are on match point.
They are, and Fury went up 4-2 on their attack. There's a lot of hype behind that. Fury coming off a shocking Stage 1. This is Stage 1's flawless team in Direwolves versus Stage 1's team that didn't ever get a win or didn't even get a point, and that's Fury. So you certainly would not expect the game to be this close, and yet here we are. Dorms has been attacked 6 times in this map. Every single time the attack has won it. Laundry doesn't quite have as strong a win record on the defense as Dorms did for the attack, because Direwolves were able to win their very first attack onto this bomb site. But Fury desperately trying to push for overtime. This is their best bet, and they have won it before on the defense.
Fury now looking to do a pretty similar hold. The shield once again has been placed in the little laundry box just next to the washing machine, and that was the power position that the Direwolves really struggled to clear last time they tried to go for a direct attack. Exactly this shield here, thank you very much, Sky. This is the one that really cost Direwolves the round. Because they couldn't clear this position, the player was able to crossfire with the one inside of the little closet, and their entire execute was just broken to pieces. And so Direwolves, they will have to be a little more successful and in that late round if they want to be able to close out this game in regulation. Seems like the same attack will be played out again, but Hajime is hiding in the corner of Armory.
Hajime's been playing for these like low percentage fights
all
all
no.
game. Oh my god,
Oh
Pika.
no.
No! Oh! He shot the drone. If he hadn't shot the drone, he might have gotten away. But he does retreat now. Dial was aware of his position. This round will be the phase 1 of this round, but remember, Hajime could die here, and it wouldn't even be too bad for Fury. They won it last time when they were a man down. And Hajime not getting pressured too hard, to be honest, you know? Pretty slow going for the attacking side, and he's able to shoot quite a number of drones before getting back to site.
Yeah, I think from his POV alone, we saw him shoot out 3 or 4 drones in that top floor, and he makes it all the way back. There were no players in the shower hallway to cut him off. This time, Jackie Wu wasn't there early enough. No players on the double window able to cut him off from going through white, and Pikan wasn't able to find him on the entry either. So smooth like butter is the way that Hajime is able to make his way back into the site. Meanwhile, BG Man though, Silver Fury is lurking his way in the top floor as the rest of Direwolves will start to make their progression into the building. A few players in now, they will be able to start working those hatches and see what kind of execute they can go for. But finally, ED is able to find the cutoff, and that's the first pick for the Direwolves.
Big pick. Funny note that ED has actually switched from the ARX to the G36 this round. I think maybe because he ran out of bullets trying to fight someone last round. I remember seeing him spray through a window and run out of bullets, so changing his primary option. But nonetheless, I digress. Actually, no Kaid this time around, so Direwolves going to have a lot more options as they can open up this hatch here in meeting down into electrical below. Now, my question is, that Shirt's shield that you pointed out at the start of the round, is there an ADS protecting that? Because if they need to clear that, so there's two ADSs that actually protect that shield. So I think that they've really got to not push this shield. They really need to go for a rear push here.
And I think that they're agreeing with you here, Dev, as well. This is exactly the rear push that they're trying to go for. They've opened up the back hatch instead, and Nade to follow onto Pillar will perfectly clear the position behind the Pillar, but Dark is able to refrag. Jackie Wu, though, is able to find one through the long angles on the solo wall. Trades go back and forth, but they work out in favor of the Direwolves. 1 versus 4, Dev.
And it's not going to happen for Lycolis. Surely it won't happen. Direwolves, they pull through. And they do what Fury could not. They can win the attacks downstairs onto Laundry Supply. It was an emotional night for this team, but they do pull through against all of the odds. And they come away with a regulation win and their best chance of making the Berlin Major.